The marketplace was alive with sound. Vendors called out, their voices overlapping in a chaotic melody. Hooves clattered on the dirt roads. The scent of spices and roasted maize thickened the air. Somewhere in the distance, a drum pounded, setting the heartbeat of the village. For most, the market was a place of excitement, of laughter, of life. But for Tanaka, it was something else entirely. The voices were too loud, the colors too bright. The sounds crashed into him like waves in a storm, relentless and overwhelming. He pressed his hands to his ears, willing the noise to stop, but it only grew louder, the world around him spinning. A gentle hand touched his shoulder. His mother knelt beside him, her dark eyes filled with understanding. "Close your eyes, my son," she whispered. "Listen to the rhythm beneath the noise." Tanaka obeyed, squeezing his eyes shut. But instead of quiet, the sound swelled. The shouting, the laughter, the endless movement, it was too much. He gasped for air. "Make it stop," he whispered, "please." That evening, when the village quieted and the air cooled, she took his hand and led him beyond the marketplace, past the huts with their glowing fires, past the elders who sat beneath the great baobab tree sharing stories of old. They walked until they reached a small hut at the edge of the village. Smoke curled from the open doorway, carrying the scent of burning herbs. Inside, an old man sat cross-legged on a woven mat, his face lined with years of wisdom. Baba, the village elder, the keeper of stories. Tanaka hesitated at the doorway, gripping his mother's hand. "Baba," his mother said softly, "my son struggles. The world is too loud for him. He hears things others do not." Baba studied Tanaka with quiet eyes, then smiled. "Ah," he murmured, "so the earth has chosen you." Tanaka frowned. "Chosen me?" Baba gestured for him to sit. "You do not just hear noise, child. You hear the whispers of the earth, the songs of the trees, the voices hidden between the wind." Tanaka shook his head. "But it scares me. I don't want to hear them." Baba chuckled, tapping his cane against the ground. "Fear not. The world speaks only to those who are willing to listen." Tanaka wanted to argue, to tell Baba that he didn't want this gift if that's what it was. But there was something about the old man's voice, something steady, like the roots of a great tree, so he listened. At dawn, Baba took his hand and led him deep into the forest. The trees stood tall, their canopies woven together like a great green sky. The ground was soft beneath their feet, the air filled with the scent of damp earth. They walked in silence until Baba stopped beneath an ancient tree, its trunk thick with time. "Close your eyes," he said. Tanaka obeyed. "Now listen." At first, he heard only the usual sounds, the rustling of leaves, the distant calls of birds. But as he stood there, his breath slowing, he felt something else. A hum, low and steady, like a heartbeat beneath the ground. His eyes snapped open. "I hear something," he whispered. Baba smiled. "Yes, that is the voice of the land." The trees talked to each other, to the wind, to the sky. And you, Tanaka, can hear their wisdom. For weeks, Baba guided him, teaching him how to listen not just with his ears, but with his heart. He learned to hear the rhythm in the rushing river, the quiet song in the shifting sands. He learned that not all noise was chaos. Some sounds were simply waiting to be understood. Then, one fateful season, a great drought fell upon the village. The river shrank to a mere trickle. The crops withered. The well, once deep and generous, held only dust. The villagers grew desperate. They gathered in the marketplace, their voices tight with fear. "We must go to the next village," some said. "Beg for water before it's too late." Others shook their heads. "The journey is long, and they suffer just as we do. What if they turn us away?" That night, Tanaka's mother found him sitting outside their hut, staring at the cracked earth. She knelt beside him, her voice barely above a whisper. "My son, can you hear anything?" Tanaka hesitated. He had never tried listening to the ground before. Slowly, he closed his eyes. The world around him faded into silence. Then, there it was, a whisper. Faint, deep beneath the soil, his eyes flew open. "There's water," he breathed, "under the ground." The villagers gathered as he pointed to a barren patch of land beyond the well. Hope flickered in their tired eyes. And so they dug, hour after hour, sweat pouring, hands blistering, the sun burning overhead. Then a shout, a gurgle, a rush of water burst from the earth, clear and cold and life-giving. The village erupted into cheers, laughter and tears blending into one. Tanaka watched, his chest tight, his heart full. And from that day forward, the boy who once feared the noise of the world became the one who listened to its wisdom. He became a beacon of hope, a bridge between the earth and its people, and he never stopped listening. Not to the wind, not to the trees, not to the whispers of the earth,